What's up, guys? Welcome back. And I am posted up right now because I have a post that I'm going to cover right now, and it's a little bit longer, but I think that I'm hoping it will be very relevant and a good post for understanding the idea we talked about in the last couple videos of this external reality being less real than the internal reality, the 3D being a reflection of that internal world. So this post is called The Inner Shift That Changes Everything, Resolving 20 Years of Health Issues Using the Law. I think it's also important to, just in general, these posts that are coming with this sort of dogmatic approach that's like the law, talking about anytime you hear anything about people don't have any free will or everyone's you pushed out, these kinds of ideas never take any action. They come from this dogmatic thinking that gets perpetuated in this kind of echo chamber of people that talk about Neville Goddard's work. But I think it's important to take those kinds of statements and ideas with a grain of salt. But we're just going to get into this post because, again, we are all co-creating reality here. It is not just that I or that you are the sole creators. We're the creators of our own reality, yes. And we are the creators in our own bubble, in our own world. We can be the gods of our reality, but everyone else is the god of their reality as well. So it's important. I just want to get that out of the way, but we're going to cover this. And again, just like usual, I'm going to give you guys my breakdowns, my thoughts on this post, and let's get into it. So a few months back, in response to another post on this sub, I shared how I turned many aspects of my life around by simply living the end with the conviction that my imagined reality was my actual reality and that the contents of my physical reality were just an illusion, bearing no meaning on the realness of my imagined reality. I shared how I had created new experiences with prosperity, romance, opportunity, and resolved 20 years of health issues. I didn't anticipate the positive reaction my post would receive, and since then I've had quite a few replies and DMs asking me specifically about how I resolved my health conditions, and I've decided that posting more about my approach could reach a wider audience. Note, this post mostly centers on the subject of health, but the same principles apply to any subject of life. Okay, let me first say, I've been studying/practicing the law for nearly 8 years before I, quote, got it. Seriously, for most of the time, all I could muster were free cups of coffee and parking spots. If you've been in the space where you knew it was real but aren't creating the progress you desire, I understand your dilemma. The truth is, the answer was always right in front of me, but my willingness to see it was clouded by my perpetual intimidation and my fear of physical reality. Nothing of significance shifted in my physical reality until I committed entirely to two concepts. One, that what I chose to imagine in my mind is actual, real reality, and two, that the entirety of my physical reality, even the scariest, most intrusive conditions, were/are just illusion and have no significance or relevance on the realness of what I've imagined, which the imagining alone fulfilled my desire. In practicality, this looked like imagining and accepting as truth that I was wealthy and having a blast continually building my financial prowess and net worth, all while in my physical reality I was $400,000 in debt with an income that would never even begin to chip away at that, was living paycheck to paycheck, and was even being sued by a prior creditor. Health-wise, I imagined powerful strength, feeling proud and amazing to be in my body, adventurous, uninhibited, and unendingly well, all while my physical reality was presenting the experience of being 20 years with quite a treacherous and limiting autoimmune illness. I only share some of the physical conditions that existed in my 3D so you can see just how strongly the evidence around me contradicted the wonderful states of being I was occupying in my imagination. The truth is, no matter how much they bark or even bite, the conditions of our physical realities don't matter in the slightest with regards to the actuality of what we imagine. Our physical realities only become our masters because somewhere along the way we agreed they were. If you're ever going to truly create the reality you desire, it's completely necessary to untether and break away from the hypnosis that compels you to believe your physical reality is what's real, controls you, and has an independent authority over you. That's literally the shift that changed 8 years of me getting nowhere. Let's talk about the law real quick. It's impartial and consistent. It has no reference for good or bad, wanted or unwanted, healthy or unhealthy. It has no mind of its own. It never blames, tests, blesses, or supersedes you. It simply takes the story you've cultivated in your imagination and gives it back to you in the form of your physical experience. Your physical reality is simply the experience of what you've imagined or what states of being you occupy the majority of the time. Often, when we're not creating what we desire, our part of the story is I am defeated / scared by / powerless against my physical reality. Or this is hopeless, there's no way out. The law is simply objectively and literally giving these thoughts back to you to experience. It doesn't receive what you imagine and ask, are you sure you want this? It has no regard for what you want to desire. It doesn't care how you feel about what you've created already. It simply receives what you persisted in imagination, i.e., your states of being, and the resulting beliefs and thoughts. It says, coming right up, boss. It makes no difference to the law whether it produces makes your day or sinks your ship. It's not a God choosing or withholding to provide. You / your imagination are the authority here. But if you're stuck in unwanted cycles and not creating what you desire, then you've given that authority over to your physical reality. You've made it your God, and under this perspective, anything you imagine can only be a pipe dream or wishful thinking at best. If we're continually manifesting the unfulfillment of our desires, it's because we've placed authority in a reality that shows us they are unfulfilled. Take that authority back. Fulfill your desires in imagination. Embrace your imagination as reality and remain vigilant and uncompromising in this perspective, regardless what your physical reality has to say about it. In essence, your acceptance of your imagined reality as real must become second to none, and I mean none. Neville states throughout his teachings that we can never become the desired versions of ourselves while we continue to indulge the, quote, old self, the version of ourselves which created the unwanted physical reality. He's essentially saying that we can't hold belief in two opposite states of being at once. We can't maintain states, beliefs, and thoughts of illness and expect to produce health. The same goes for poverty and wealth, loneliness and love, unworthiness and worth, etc. How can you tell what states you've been persisting in? If you're unsure, take a look at the contents of your life, unwanted health conditions included. Remember, your physical reality has no authority over you, it's just information. Treat it as such. Giving it any more meaning keeps you stuck and is certain to keep the physical experience of your old self firmly in place. When I first manifested my autoimmune diagnosis at 17 years old, the doctor told me all the things I wouldn't do and stated I should lower my expectation for wellness in life. This and many other limiting ideas from medical professionals, peers, and loved ones I'd received in the years following became my story, which became my physical experience, and it manifested in some unwanted physical form in every aspect of my life. My physical world became what I felt like an ever-limiting experience of discomfort, failure, frustration, loneliness, self-hatred, lack, never enough, etc. Our stories never stay isolated to one subject, and I guarantee your unwanted health conditions are not just the result of how you think about health, but how you think about yourself, your identity, and your relationship to the world in general. My personal story in general was pretty hopeless, defeating, and self-loathing long before my unwanted health conditions presented themselves. I'll tell you from my experience, if ongoing unwanted conditions persist in your reality, it's only because you persist in unwanted states in your mind. Stop allowing them. The old self has to die so the new self can live. I still get awestruck when I recall how quickly things shifted once I drew the line in the sand and decided that 1, my imagined reality was actual reality, and 2, my entire physical experience was just the reproduction of prior states of being and irrelevant to the inevitability of my desired reality, which I had established and persisted in my imagination. You see, a true commitment to this perspective means a true commitment to choosing and being the version of you that you desire, which rather quickly kills off the identities of the old self that created the unwanted. The old self doesn't matter. Right now, you get to be the new self if you choose, and you can place yourself in the states of amazing health, vitality, strength, power, wealth, expansion, opportunity, love, or whatever you desire. Close your senses to the physical conditions around you. They mean nothing in regards to what you get to create next, and you don't need their permission to be the new self. If your health struggles cause you pain or really bark if your health struggles cause you pain or really bark at you, don't try to pretend that you don't feel them or notice them. Observe them, and if necessary, obtain relief through the means available to you. But neutralize any authority you've previously given them. The same goes for diagnoses, outlooks, notions about how long something takes to heal, if it can even heal, or limited perceptions, etc. Go through the motions, but unless you want to continue with them, strip them and their limitations of any and all meaning and go right back to identifying with your imagined ideals. Exist in this identity as often as you can throughout your day. Make it your new ordinary. If you've lived feeling subservient to your physical reality, haven't you had enough? No prognosis or symptoms, regardless of their intrusiveness, perceived permanency, or severity, stand a chance when you've traded in the belief in the physical world authority and replaced it with the authority of your inner reality, commanded by your imagining your desires filled. The funny paradox is that we only keep unwanted conditions alive in our physical realities because we continue to imagine that they have independent authority and power over us, and thus the law gives it back to us in experience. You can stop this belief now, and your reality will shift. How you get there is up to you, but once you've decided that your imagined reality is what's real, be vigilant and persistent about remaining there. It may feel like you're kidding yourself at first, but it takes persistence to kill off the old self. Persist, persist, persist. If your experience is like mine, you'll feel your new self, i.e., the new story, take over internally before you see it physically manifest. You may still observe old, unwanted conditions for a time, but you're assured they're on their way out because they can't belong in the new reality you've imagined. They just can't. This is where you continue shutting the senses to anything reminding you of your old story and persist. Let your excuses go. Let your I can'ts go. The moment you believe you're too far gone for anything to change, or perhaps decide my success was only possible because my conditions were easier to fix than yours, you're back in your old story. Our actual physical details are always irrelevant unless we're going to persist in the old story and keep it alive in our physical experience. Comparisons to anyone or anything outside yourself or anything that undermined your new imagined actual reality have got to go. You have to believe in the validity of your new self far more than that of your old self if anything is going to change. That's essentially it, but I think the following points will help round out this post. So these are bulleted points here. Shame, guilt, and blame. While you embrace that you've created the unwanted conditions of your physical reality, if you experience any shame, guilt, or blame, know these are simply old self emotions arising because you've given meaning to your physical reality. Any notions of these emotions are simply untrue. Remember, the law never cared. It just physicalized what your imagination handed it. You've done nothing wrong by creating unwanted conditions. No punishment is being doled out, and no penance is needed to dissolve them. Feel the freedom in embracing self as cause. After all, if you've created it, you can uncreate it and create something new in its place. Remember, as you authentically live in your wonderful imagined reality, shutting your senses to any part of you, your physical reality, which would deny your imaginings, you are giving the law the new story to create for you. So, second bullet point, the state of the wish fulfilled. Keep in mind that wanting is an entirely different state than having, and desire is entirely different than fulfillment. We don't want what we have, and we don't desire what's been fulfilled. With regards to any struggle, because of the authority we've previously given our physical realities, we often frame our desires in the state of wanting and not having. From the state of wanting and not having. A state of wanting to be healed just reproduces more conditions that reaffirm your experience of wanting to be healed. A state of being healthy, energized, strong, vigorous, etc. leads to the experience of these things. The law gives you the physical experience of the state you occupy. You can be anything in your imagination in your actual reality. I recommend going right to the state of having/fulfillment versus a state that still involves the unwanted conditions in your story, such as being healed, being cured, etc. Third bullet point, manifesting techniques. Techniques have no actual power. It's the states, beliefs, and thoughts you occupy in your imagination that create. Techniques can be helpful in getting there, but avoid getting hung up on if you're doing X technique correctly. You were born with the innate ability to imagine, and you do it all day long. It's just thinking and feeling. You also know how you most enjoy imagining. At the end of the day, what causes you to feel your desired state is real is correct. If this involves a technique that you enjoy, then great. If not, then great. Personally, techniques feel like homework, whereas just shifting myself into the feeling of my desired states as often as possible feels natural and powerful. I continually practice occupying my desired states frequently during my everyday life, and it was and is so enjoyable. The desired state becomes my default being, desired states, and soon after, my physical reality. Okay, fourth bullet point, taking action. Controversial perhaps, but I firmly believe from experience, no action needs to be taken in your physical reality in order to create what you desire. Reality isn't created through physical action, it's created through becoming what you desire in imagination, your actual reality. The only action required of you is to live in your wish fulfilled while knowing that is your true reality. The how is the law's job, and it doesn't need your help. It'll clearly call you into action if that action is to be a part of your bridge of incidents, and it will feel entirely natural to you. It doesn't need you to go on an expedition to figure out how to manipulate physical reality to create what you want. That's what you were doing before when you viewed physical reality as having independent authority over you. How is that going? The law only asks you give it the state of being or story you want to create and persist in the state so that it becomes your inner actual reality. This means that no prescription, remedy, course of treatment, or physical thing is going to cause your health, strength, and well-being. And in and of themselves, they are meaningless. It's only through choosing health and wellness in your imagination, your actual reality, and persisting in those states that you will truly create them in your experience. I'm not advocating for stopping the physical world treatments or things you're currently doing to obtain relief. As you live more and more from the perspective that your imagined reality of health and wellness is your actual reality, any inclinations to involve yourself in what you've been doing may continue, or they may shift as your bridge of incidents calls you to the physical fulfillment of your desires. That's a personal decision no one outside of you needs to be involved in, but please don't force anything. As you identify more and more with the states of being healthy, well, powerful, thriving, etc., while shutting senses to the physical unwanted, you will create the experience of resources finding you, doors opening, information and opportunities coming your way, or you may just feel and see improvement. I had all of the above happen over time. Take it all in easy stride and know it's simply you having the experience of being healthy and well because you've occupied these states. Remember, because we're now viewing imagination as reality, there's no action to take. You're already healthy, well, strong, etc. because you've imagined such, and that is actual reality. You're simply allowing your physical reality to catch up. Involving others in this process. You were never intended to need anyone's or anything's permission to create the reality you desire. Believing otherwise is just an extension of believing that your physical world has authority over you. But we've changed that now, right? By appointing your imagined reality as actual reality, you are simply giving the law permission to produce it for you. It will. If your conditions have you heavily involved with medical professionals, caretakers, or you rely on others, remember, these are the creations of the old self. Continue playing along and go through the motions detached from their significance or meaning. No one needs to know of your shifting internal state in order for you to successfully create your new reality. In fact, I'd stay quiet about it unless you completely trust someone who will understand. What you will notice as you identify with your new self in imagination is as actual reality, along with your improving physical state, those around you will naturally shift to seeing you as you're seeing yourself. Healthy, strong, powerful, etc. And they'll be thrilled for you. Others that have a specific involvement, like doctors, caretakers, etc., will make their exit at the right time. When it comes down to it, I didn't actually cure or heal any of my unwanted health conditions. The notion of even needing to be healed or cured was part of the old self, who I killed off. I simply created a new self where I was healthy, well, and thriving in all sorts of other desired states of being. I persisted in these states in my imagination and let that be real enough until it was real in my physical reality. Almost none of this newly desired physical reality manifested in ways that I could have replicated with my own physical force or action, and it did not occur as expected. Often, I'd realize a new aspect of my desired reality had been created under my nose. It was fantastic and still is. Creating new reality is the stuff of life, literally. You get to define what that ideal state is for you. Persist, persist, persist. Honestly, you'll never be the same when you experience yourself moving mountains. TLDR, nothing of significance shifted in my physical reality until I committed entirely to two concepts. One, that what I choose to imagine in my mind is the actual real reality. And two, that the entirety of my physical reality, even the scariest and most intrusive conditions, were/are just illusion and have no significance or relevance on the realness of what I've imagined, which the imagining alone fulfilled my desire. If you're ever going to truly create the reality you desire, it's completely necessary to untether and break away from this hypnosis that compels you to believe your physical reality is what is real, controls you, and has an independent authority over you. That's literally the shift that changed 8 years of me getting nowhere from 20 years of ongoing health issues from my experience to dissolving them. Okay. Yeah, I think this is a great post. As I said in the beginning, however, there are some grains of salt to take with this. I mean, they even mentioned that these are personal decisions when it comes to taking action. You guys, if you're familiar with my videos, you know that taking action is, to me, taking action is part of the embodiment process. So when they say that you will be led down these doors and these doors will open for you, maybe taking action is part of those doors opening. So maybe in this process of healing, and especially when people are suffering from life-threatening illnesses, I would never tell somebody to stop taking a medication or to just imagine the end of the wish fulfilled or whatever. I mean, I don't think that that's good advice at all. Maybe the OP also doesn't think that, but the way that they've written this, just saying, "Oh, none of that matters at all." Again, take that with a grain of salt. I'm advising all of us to take these posts in the Neville subreddit that speak in these absolutes with a grain of salt. And as we know, from studying these other spiritual teachings, not just Neville. Neville's fine, Neville's Neville. But when you look at the universal principles, all truths are but half truths. Everything is in shades of gray. The law of polarity, exists, and usually the truth is somewhere in the middle. It's not this one extreme of just only imagination ever and never take action. We are physical beings. We are spiritual beings. We are both. So doing what she is described here, this is an amazing post. I'm not discrediting this post. I am just saying that this post, when you believe that imagination is the true reality, you then can also take steps in your physical that also line up with that imagined end that you are imprinting, that you are claiming that authority, that my imagination has authority over the physical, and then you are also taking steps in the physical world to meet it, to meet the universe halfway, so to speak. That is my 2 cents on what is being spoken about here. However, this post is a great post, and there's certain posts that I've covered recently where I'm almost half of me almost is like, should I even post this? Because the way that some of these people speak is so dogmatic, like I said, with the nobody has free will but you, and never ever take any action, and everyone's you pushed out type of stuff, that sometimes I'm a little bit hesitant. But this is a great success story. All I want to clarify here is that as much as this person has experienced the success, there are other people that are trying to do this and have not been able to do this. And for people like that, especially those that are suffering from health conditions, it's going to be hard for you to have some physical condition, and then just let's say that you've I don't know what it's a good example, but you have heart disease, or you have, your doctor tells you to take statins, otherwise you're going to have a heart attack. I mean, imagining that your heart is healthy is a great thing to do, but you should probably also take the statins. So again, guys, always take this stuff with a grain of salt. Do the thing that makes the most sense for you, but also practice and be be able to entertain both. Again, it's about coming into the middle and knowing that you can claim something into being, but the laws of the universe also work. If you have lost an arm, or if you are attempting to jump off the face of a building and then assume that you're going to be okay, I mean, that's foolhardy, right? You don't, as far as I'm aware of, no human being has ever been able to regenerate an entire arm. Let's say that you had to get it amputated. Living in the wish fulfilled has its place, but getting medical treatment and proper medical treatment, I hope that this should go without saying, guys. This is, for some reason, common sense has like left the chat when it comes to Neville Goddard and these manifesting echo chambers online. But with that being said, much love as always. Drop this video with a like. Hit me with a subscribe if you found this helpful. I think, again, it's all about embracing both the 4D, but also embracing the 3D. Also saying that, hey, look, I'm going to create what I want in my reality. I acknowledge that my imagination is the true reality. However, laws of the universe, the law of gravity, it's not like just because I imagine one day that the sun's not going to come up, the sun's still going to come up. The laws of the universe are still at play. So within reason, I can claim into being what it is that I want. But for me to just wake up one day and imagine that I'm going to be flying or something, we have to base and ground ourselves in both the physical and the spiritual. I hope that makes sense. Sometimes it can cause cognitive dissonance for us to be accepting two things to be true as once, especially when they seem paradoxical. And I think that's why a lot of the times people will speak in absolutes. It's more persuasive. You see a lot of public figures, politicians, and people in the spotlight will speak in these absolutes. And it is good for getting their point across. And that's what Neville Goddard has done, is got his point across. But the thing is that we have to accept that this shade of gray that exists. When we become masters of using the universe, of using universal laws in our favor, we are accepting that we are co-creating. We are masters of our reality. And at the same time, you've got a lot of these spiritual teachers that talk about non-dualism is talking about, yes, we are all connected. We are all one. But you're not going to be able to live a fulfilling life coming from a non-dualistic perspective all the time unless you decide to retire into a mountaintop and just meditate on that fact. If you want to have health, if you want to have relationship success, it also is helpful to study the greats, to study people that achieve success. And those people also take action. They also embody it on a physical level. Embodying somebody of health would include having a healthy diet, going to get physical exercise. It's not going to include just only practicing imagining while sitting on the couch and eating donuts. With that being said, guys, much love as always. Again, drop this with a like. Leave us a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. I'd be very curious to hear your thoughts on this. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.